So, you want to become a king or queen? Well, you've come to the right place. Monarchies today are few and far between compared to the past, and becoming a monarch seems nearly impossible. And, well, that's because it kind of is. Nevertheless, there are actually quite a lot of ways you can still become king today, although admittedly, none are very achievable. The first and most obvious way is to be born into a royal family. If you're born into a line of succession, great! Now you just have to wait until your family dies, and bing bang boom, you're on the throne. But even if you're not born directly into a line of succession, there are still ways for you to wear the crown. The more sinister way is to dispose of those in line before you. One example of this is Richard III of England, who took his nephews and heirs to the throne to the Tower of London, and the boys were never seen again, leaving Richard to inherit the throne. Or, if you're not the murderous type, you could just hope that the heir gives up his claim to the throne, or passes away due to natural causes, leaving you next in line. There is, however, another way to become king, even if you're not directly in the line of succession, that being elective monarchy. This is where a group, such as other high-ranking officials, vote for a candidate of noble blood to become king. Most famously, this was a system used in the Holy Roman Empire and the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Modern examples include Cambodia, where a king is chosen to rule for life, or Malaysia, where the head of state is elected from regional rulers for a 5-year term. So, method 1. Be born royal. But let's say you're not lucky enough to be born a Cambodian prince or a British heir. But don't worry, there are still ways for you to become king. How? Well, first, get yourself elected president. Done that? Good. Now, overturn the checks and balances of power your nation has, seize more and more power, institute laws that make your country a monarchy, and declare yourself the king or queen. Of course, it's a lot easier said than done. Most democratic nations have other entities in place to prevent the takeover of power, such as the US Congress and Supreme Court, which are designed to balance out the president's power. And even if you manage to successfully declare yourself monarch, chances are your new subjects will not be too happy about the change. One successful example of this in history is King Zog of Albania, who was originally the president of Albania, then granted himself near absolute power, and in 1928 declared Albania a kingdom with himself as king. That is, until the Italians came over. There is, however, a presidency that doesn't require seizure of power to become a monarch. That position is the presidency of France. You see, the French president automatically becomes a co-prince of Andorra along with the Bishop of Urgell, Andorra being this nation located here, and Urgell being this county in Spain. As for why this is, basically way back in the day Andorra wanted protection from invaders, so the Andorran leader, the bishop, went to France and asked for military support in exchange for making the French head of state co-prince. The French agreed, and since then, the French head of state, whether it be king, emperor, or president, has been the co-prince of Andorra. So, method 2. Go from president to king, or be French. But what if you're not born into a royal family, or be able to be elected president? Well, you could always go for a more direct and aggressive method. Take the crown by force. Simply get an army, defeat whatever country you're taking over. It could be a foreign nation, or your own nation, and once you've won, make yourself the monarch of that nation. Or, if your nation isn't a monarchy, make it one, and then declare yourself the king. After all, who's going to stop you and your army? This is a tried and true method that many have used in history. However, if you don't manage to win the war, you're probably going to be arrested for treason. Or worse. But hey, high risk, high reward, right? So, method 3. Take the crown by force. But make sure you win. But, what if you'd rather become a king without shedding any unnecessary blood? There is also a more peaceful way to become king. You could find a piece of land that no one claims, claim it, and declare yourself a king of that land. The problem with this method is that most people will think you're a whack job. Many people have already tried this, and no country recognizes them as legitimate kings. The most well-known example of this is Sealand, an abandoned British sea fort that was claimed by this guy, who created the country of Sealand and declared himself the monarch. Sealand is not recognized by any nations. And so, while you may be a king in name, are you really a king if the only person who sees yourself as king is yourself? So, method 4. Make your own country, with yourself as king. So, if you ever wanted to become a monarch of a country, there you go. Simple, easy tips for becoming a king or queen. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you next time.